Okay.
Okay.
Cheers!
Cheers! Welcome to Booktube the Second.
Ah!
Woo! I think I
When the
accidentally
chase is more alcohol. That's not good. Oh, wait. I'll open with a celebratory.
Yes.
Does anybody have any sort of structure, opening questions? Any idea about how we can do this?
No.
We can start by ranting about the things that we know we're going to rant about and go uphill,
I suggest
I think we should
all
go from...
have a group viewing of the movie trailer.
Yes, let's do it.
I really want to watch this movie.
Okay, I have the... Where's the trailer?
Okay, I'm going to watch it on my phone so I don't mess up the...
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. All of the ones on YouTube are, super not...
I mean, it was from 2002.
Okay, here we go. I found the trailer. Oh, no, this is just random clips from it. Send everyone whatever you find, the video. I don't know where the trailer is.
What the hell?
Bring in the trailer.
I want the trailer. I definitely saw it when, the movie came out. Or, are these all just clips? I feel like these are all just clips.
I'm only seeing clips.
This is rude. Give me a trailer, damn it.
Oh, God, it was Jared Padalecki?
I told you! He's Zach!
He's Zach?
Yes!
And then he became Supernatural.
And he became Dean.
Oh, you right. Before Super... Oh, my God. I don't know how that makes me feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just watch some random clips. Whatever this first one on YouTube. Oh my God, these underwater scenes are so weird. Why is she a mermaid?
It's a dream. I think we're watching the same one.
Yeah, the words underwater and all blue. And there's a dolphin.
There's a dramatic rescue scene at the end of the movie, I remember.
Okay, I found it. I'm watching.
I just found a trailer for some person's fanfic named Endless Light 7 years after Breaking Dawn. Oh my God.
I love it. Beautiful.
Wow.
Why is she still swimming?
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
Oh, it's entirely her swimming.
Is that all it is?
I'm a little disappointed. I'm so sorry.
Wow. Zach.
Okay, but who plays Adam? Because if Adam isn't hot, then I'm
The
gonna
guy
have
from The Look of the Irish!
Man.
Okay,
Don't
yeah.
tell me you don't know that.
Yeah, okay.
Where is... Alright. Adam is Ryan Merriman.
Then who plays Leo?
Oh, it was Misha Barton.
Yeah.
It was Vicky. Wow.
I remember watching this, when it came out, and, her family isn't there, she's there to visit her grandfather, and, he hides his illness from her the whole time, and so at the end he dies, and I was still young enough to be like, wow, they timed his death, like, this actor timed his death so conveniently. And then it was like, wait, no, he didn't actually die. And then I'm like, how can somebody stop breathing and hold their breath for that long?
I'll have to watch this movie now.
Man, Misha Barton and the OC.
It's really weird. Like, her family isn't in it, and it's a lot more, like, angsty.
I mean, this was hella angsty. Like, Vicky, I wanted to, like, give her a slap a couple times.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
this whole time, she doesn't, like, do anything. They're just like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? And she has, like, opinions about it. But every single time, she's just like, yeah.
I know with Zachary, I'm like, dump the chump, like, all the way, like...
Both of them! Literally, one of the first things you hear is that she doesn't like Leah. She keeps on saying she doesn't like him, and she, like, wipes off his kisses. And I'm like, how often is he kissing you? Why do you keep letting him kiss you?
I know.
If you don't like them.
You just gotta, like, you just gotta cut it off at some point. Like, that's the thing, is she...
But I still liked her.
I still liked her a lot. I know. It was very confused. I was so conflicted this entire time because I loved her, but at the same time, I was like, you just need to, like, be away from boys for a very long time because you're not emotionally mature enough to deal with any type, especially Zachary, who's like 20.
20 and she's 15.
I know.
I was like, what
the fuck is he doing? What are her parents doing?
I know.
That's what I was wondering. Her parents are just like, oh yeah, you can go hang out.
I know. I'd be like, hell no. Like, he is way too old.
I, like, snapped it to...
And he's, like, ready to go further with this, like, 15-year-old. And I'm like, get a freaking life, dude.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
He's, like, totally negging her.
He is! Oh my god.
What is Leo doing driving them to, like, dates? He's, like...
That's so awkward.
I know.
It's not, and, like, even after he does that a couple times, he, like, takes her to the inn and, like, forces himself on her. Like, she said, I don't want to kiss you, and he's like, what?
I know.
He's taking her on dates with somebody else. Like,
I know. And she just needs to, like, not do the date if she doesn't like him.
She needs some boundaries.
I know.
Like,
I got the book for her.
Like, have nothing else to do. It's, like, pre-internet.
She needs some of these.
Boundaries. I know. I was, like, going inside.
Which is weird, because, like, that was also the structure of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the first half. You had the funeral, and then, like, up until the halfway point, it was, like, until she, like, finally, like, hung out with Adam, and then it became more about the dolphins. It was, like, one date, another date, another date.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very much, like, date, kiss, how she felt about that. Date, kiss, how she felt about that. And then, like, with Adam, it was, like, date, no kiss, here's how I feel about not kissing him. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Vicky, like, make some decisions.
If you're into Adam, then you need to hang out with him, and you just need to, like... Zachary is just, like, he has nefarious plans for you. He just is a bad person.
But did you, they kind of, like, skimmed over it. But the thing is, he shows up in, like, 5 books. Like, you see him again. And I'm like, why? I hated him. Adam, I loved Adam. He was in Arm of the Starfish. And, like, Polly's in love with Adam. Like, you end that book, and like, Polly is, like, under the impression that he's gonna come back for her at some point in the future.
Oh, that's so sad.
I don't think Vicky is ready for Adam, though.
No.
So, I'm like, okay, if he goes, I don't know, Polly, but, like, if he loves her, then I'm cool with that, because...
Polly's, like, 13. It was very one-sided.
He needs to hang out with girls his own age.
But basically, the whole time they were like, that summer he was in Libsyn with Dr. O'Keefe, that's the Arm of the Starfish summer.
He is, like, the coolest person. Like, when he's, like, so happy and he's doing cartwheels, I was like, you are a pure ball of sunshine and I love you. Like, I would die for Adam, I think. He is the best. And then his, like, one thing that, that Vicky got angry about was him trying not to come on to her because
Yeah.
she's younger. And I was like, well, fair enough. Like, yeah, he's actually, like, a good person.
He's responsible and
15 years old. There was like a part where she's like, I'm not a child, I'm almost 16. And that's like literally something Ariel says.
I know.
I'm not a little girl anymore.
oh my
Well, I
God.
think it's the thing. Okay, so Madeleine L'Engle, is she British?
No.
No.
She used
She's
to live in New
American.
York. She used to live
Okay.
she used to live a few blocks from Columbia.
Because the vibe I was getting is they kept on saying, like, I felt like the vibe was that she was legal at 16.
Well, I don't know when this was written,
That's
but
true.
like Wrinkle in Time came out in the 60s.
Oh, okay.
And like
This was
my
in the
friend's
80s.
parents were around for the whole 18 to 21 thing.
Okay.
This
So,
Yeah,
was-
this came out in 1980.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, because with 16, legal for drinking and legal for the sex too, is that Zachary was definitely pushing that angle. And
Oh, yeah.
he was like, well, you're just about legal. And I was like,
But like, they like skimmed over. I want to go back and read the other Austen books actually, but
Yeah.
like how they meet is that they meet on a camping ground and then they keep on like going around and he just follows them.
he's just hella creepy. Like, he
It's
is.
pretty weird.
Well, and with the, like, he definitely would, like, kill the sparrows, the baby sparrows, and, like, trying to
plane.
hit that grandma
They
and the plane.
Skimmed over the
lady.
whole plane thing.
Oh God, the plane was.
I don't understand why that needed to happen though, because like it seemed so extra. She's already had the shock of like Jeb being.
Yeah.
And I feel like she'd already like gone through enough with Zach that she could have made a decision. I'm like, why are you doing this? Why are you going with him? And like she keeps on like in the whole car ride there, and then the car ride after the boat. I'm like, why are you doing this? And so like it's that whole scene's like bookended by like the shock of, oh my God, Jeb's in the hospital, to like, oh my God, this small baby died in my arms.
Okay, this is, I showed Jewel this, but I'll show you. My favorite post-it note that I wrote was after that had happened, and then John and Susie are like, people in, like, Africa are starving, and my post-it note literally says, fuck you. I was so pissed. I was like, you never say that to someone who's been through a trauma or is depressed. Like, you never compare
Oh
their...
no, but the thing is, I think that's what it is though. People do though.
Mm-hmm.
Because like they like if you're showing pain, especially, I don't know if it's an American thing, but like being in America, it is a thing that like very outward obvious expressions of emotion, but especially pain, is kind of taboo, because it comes with like the idea that like I have to help you now. And so she's like visibly shocked, and they're like, because they're hurting because their grandfather's in the hospital, and so they're like, don't be more than me because I can't deal with me, so how dare you ask for more, even though just emoting is not a demand.
Yeah, I wondered if what was I gonna say? I'm losing my train of thought. I was just shocked that it was Susie and John, though, because I'm like, they're both wanting to go into, like, medical professions, and, like, I felt like they would have a greater appreciation for that kind of, like, trauma from loss of life, so I felt it was almost, like, out of character from them.
I don't think so, because, like, a lot of the story is, like, the dichotomy of the scientist and the poet.
That's true.
And, like, she's not just, like, you can kind of comprehend the whole medical side of what shock is, but because we're experiencing it from Vicky's point of view, it's like a very emotional thing from her. But like it's weird because they're having an emotional thing too. Like that's an emotional reaction. But like and like Vicky has that whole thing when she's talking to Susie. She's like, doctors don't treat their family. So
I love the dichotomy, like you said, of the poet and the scientist, like that entire thing. I loved pretty much every word that the grandfather said the entire book.
I
I
loved
was like,
him. I want to
Grandpa
be him when I
like,
grow up.
I know. I was like, all of my Post-it notes are pretty much him talking. Like every word he said, I was like, that moved my soul.
I wish I had time to do Post-its. I think there was one I like read out loud to myself. That was about stars. Because if y'all didn't know, I have like an aesthetic thing for stars.
Oh,
Yes, I found it. So they're like talking to the. It's like something that like Roberta shows Vicky. It, like towards like the very, very, very end. That's why I 89, and it's like.
Sorry, the street racers are out early. There's street racers on another corner. They come out at 10 and at like 2 a.m.
nice.
What was it? It's like a night sky dipping down into the water on all four horizons. A sky alive with stars which moved in a slow and radiant dance, rising from the east and dipping down into the west, so that I felt the turning of the planet call out to swiftly tilting planet.
Hey.
And that this too was part of the dance, and so were the dolphins, and so were Adam and I. I really liked that one.
Wait, what page is that?
289.
89.
Also, very sentimental thing to like very nerdy thing. There's a part where they're talking about like she's like, I think she's talking with Adam, and they're talking about dolphins, and she's like, I wish that they were like a computer and you could just ask them like the question of life. And I was like, it's like Hitchhiker's Guide, because there's the computer and the dolphins are smarter than humans, and they like leave and they're like, so long and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah.
That was an underrated film. I know a lot of book people didn't like the film, but that was hella entertaining, and Sam Rockwell deserved the Oscar that he definitely got for that movie and not this weird 3 Billboards thing.
I was definitely sick when I watched that, so like it was a trippy experience for me.
What made me uncomfortable reading this is that everyone is like totally traumatized in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Like Adam, except Adam. No, even Adam, because his friend.
Adam.
Died.
Yeah.
And like Leo's dad died. Everybody's dad is dying.
Yeah. I think the arm of the starfish is like, yeah, he is kind. He meets like this sexy lady at an airport, and what he's doing, and like what's this? And Calvin's doing, like Calvin, Meg's husband, is doing like regeneration stuff, and so that's what they're trying to steal, and then there's like a standoff, and so what happens is the bad guy's son, his arm gets bitten off by a shark. And so, like, the whole point so far has been to keep the papers and that technology from this man. Mm-hmm. But then, like, but then at the end he goes to Calvin. He's like, can you please help my son? And then Calvin's like, of course. And then Adam's like, why are you doing that? You're giving in to what he wants and what you've been trying to keep from him this whole time. And he's like, why would I forsake a child? Mm-hmm. And also his friend dies, which I completely forgot. I remember the part with the kid, and I remember the part where Polly, like, says goodbye to him. But I don't remember his friend. I was probably 10 when I read it, honestly.
Yeah.
I read the first 4, Wrinkle, Wind, Tilting Planet.
I have never read any of these books. I bought A Wrinkle in Time, and I'm going to read it while I'm in the hospital, but I've never read any of her books before, so this was like...
Oh, they're so good.
I know.
Well, but they're so different.
They're not as, like, this one was very, like, pinpointed. Mm-hmm. Like, it was very much about, like, how you deal with, like, loss and death, and very heavy-handed in the religion. Not heavy-handed, like, explicit with the religion because grandfather was, like, a minister.
Which, okay, I usually can get kind of iffy on that, and she did it so seamlessly. Mm-hmm. And so, like, in a way where it was more, like, spiritual, to where... it wouldn't alienate people. I was like, this is so well done, and this is the kind of light that actually would bring people towards spirituality versus, like, making them shy away. So I was like, well done. Like, this book just felt like, even though it was depressing, like, in different points, I felt like it was like a ball of sunshine.
I got a little confused because in the poems that the grandfather shows her at the beginning, there's talk about like the pure and endless ring of light, and then also like the deep and dazzling darkness. They were like the same, like they were both good, right? Because like one, she gets something she gets criticized a lot for because she does kind of talk about those big things. Like A Wrinkle in Time is about good versus evil, how love conquers evil. It's very basic, but like explicitly basic. And so like it is the darkness, and then they're warriors of the light. And so people are, so like a criticism she gets is that kind of like vaguely racist dichotomy of like light, good, black, dark, evil. And something I noticed here is that like they're kind of used interchangeably, like the deep and dazzling darkness and like pure and endless ring of light. So like even her like imagery was really
Okay, one of the weird things that happened in the book that I had to bring up was her whole like conversation with John about like sex. I was like, who would ever have that conversation with a sibling, like with a brother,
that was
with
pretty
a sister?
weird.
Like,
no, but like what he says is so weird too.
Where is this at?
It's 204. I was just like,
I read all this today.
Oh God, like this part. Okay. Okay, so maybe I am old-fashioned, but I don't just want a relationships. Relationships aren't real unless they end in bed, and then they don't have to be further than that.
yeah.
And then he's like, but what I want is the real thing. I'm not ready for it yet. So I'm like, what?
Okay.
What does that mean?
Is he
like,
older?
It's like, well, I feel it's
he's
like
in college. He's like 18 or 19.
He's college, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, either you like, I get the feel because it's either you get married or break up with relationships, and he doesn't want to do anything. But it's like the whole sex added in there. I'm like, you just should not have this conversation with your sister, and just like don't just like skirt that hard.
But also, like, I love how.
And he's talking
they're
about
always like they're like kissing or sex.
I know.
And I'm like, and like just complete.
Well, and then he's talking about like his sister with his friend. He's like, well, Adam's not ready for it. I'm just like, I was like,
but also I'm like, why don't you just like date?
I know, and just like feel it out. You don't need to decide right now whether you're like ready to have sex with someone or like ready to marry them. That's not the decision you make like before you have a date.
Like those are two different milestones, miles apart from each other and from the start. Like,
oh, John.
I know.
I mean, does she even like hold hands with anyone?
I don't know.
No. There's the weird, awkward hugging whenever it's crying.
Or I want to hold your hand. Like, I just hate how they're like, oh, they kissed, so they're obviously gonna have sex and get married now.
I know, but at the same time, she like kisses a lot of different guys in the same short period of time. So I'm like,
she never kisses Adam.
But not Adam.
But not
This
Adam.
is the only one she really likes.
I know. I'm like, why are you kissing other boys if you like another guy? Like, you can't just substitute, girl. You can't.
Don't like.
And Zach is gross. Just get rid of Zach. He's definitely some sort of a sexual predator and definitely some sort of a sociopath.
But her grandfather points out really early on that she's got like all these like burdens on her.
I have the quote. Ready? Mm-hmm. The obligations of normal human kindness. Chesed, as the Hebrew has it, that we all owe. But there's a kind of vanity in thinking you can nurse the world. There's a kind of vanity in goodness. I was like, yeah, that's me hardcore, is I do that. Very much the martyr thing. And yeah,
and like, the thing is I couldn't decide whether Vicky was being vain about it because or it was just like it was expected and just kind of placed on her and she accepted it because she figured that was her role.
Yeah, I think she rolls over a lot. She's
Yeah.
kind of like limp noodle a lot of the times. Because these guys just, like, kind of do what they want with her. Just, like, shuttle her around and...
Because it's not just the romantic thing. Both of them are like, please help me carry this burden of the loss of my parent.
Well, and then even with Adam, he's, like, expects her to do all this work. And she's...
Like, he doesn't put the emotional thing on her, but he's also like, I can't reciprocate these feelings for you, but do you want to be my science project?
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I wanted her to, like, stand up and slap someone. But I've been reading
Why didn't she slap Zach? He almost crashed into it, like...
I would just, like...
Commercial airliner.
I want to, like, physically harm him in a lot of different ways that I could explain very explicitly. Like, he is just all kinds of wrong. And it's just not her responsibility. And he puts it all on her.
Yep.
Puts it all on her. I'm like, that is emotionally abusive. And then he's also physically abusive. Like, this is all kinds of abusive relationship. And she's not even interested in him.
And she, like, finally puts down lines with people, like, very late, though. Mm-hmm. Like, with Leo, she's like, if every time we hang out becomes a wrestling match, I'm not going to hang out with you anymore. But she only says that after, like, he's literally, like, forced himself on her. Mm-hmm. And then with Zach, she's like, if you do that again, I'm not going to go anywhere with you. But he's already, like, twice almost hit a woman with his car.
Yeah, I'm like, the first time I would have been out of there, like, I've been reading a lot of feminist literature, though, so.
Always.
That might, I'm in a mood. I'm in a constant mood right now, but, yeah, no, I struggled with that a lot, and, God, I was so angry at him constantly.
Yeah. I think another reason I really liked Adam is that, like, they start pretty uneven, but then they kind of, like, even out at the end, because he comes clean to her, and then he also kind of, like, here's where I am, but then also, like, at the end, he, like, emotionally, like, takes care of her when she's going through that.
Yeah. When she, like, calls him and he shows up.
Zach freaking abandoning her at a hospital. God.
And walks away from her and he's like, I'm going to use my extensive riches to get early, talk and bother nurses or something like that.
Where does he go, though? Because he goes away and she's in and out of it, but then he comes back and, like, gives her family a ride.
He comes back after Benny has died in her arms.
Yeah, after some girl has died in her arms, like, oh.
But it seems like he just, like, drove away for half an hour and came back. Like,
yeah.
He said he went to go yell at some nurses.
Well, but...
Yeah, but they didn't see his car.
Yeah, they said his car. So he probably drove,
I see.
like...
Oh, yeah.
Which I get, because he did almost die in that hospital. So it's like, I get the PTSD thing, but also, if you put all of your hurt on someone else, like, you can't, it's not a one-sided thing. You have to carry their burden sometimes, too. And he just, like, totally pieced out on that. And I was like...
Yep.
Really? Really? I was surprised he even, like, took her to the hospital. I thought he was gonna, like, throw a fit and be like, no, it's time to go home.
Yeah.
Well, your family is like, yeah.
Weird thing is the, for Desire, how she kept on using the metaphor of the lizard. I was like...
Wait, do you have that?
No, but it's, like, used to
because I love how, like, her sister, the scientist, goes out of her way to write a little couplet. Oh, where is it?
And the rest of the time, Leo just didn't make the lizard run up and down me the same way that Zachary and Adam do.
Yeah, love is like a little thing shaped like a lizard. No, love is a little thing shaped like a lizard. It runs up and down and tickles your gizzard.
Yeah, that was great.
It was like, at first I was like, oh, this is a cute metaphor, but then it, like, kept on being weird. It kept on being reused, and after a while, I was like, I don't like the lizard metaphor.
No.
I don't like it.
Oh my god.
I did.
I
love
know.
this book,
I know
though.
one of the books. I think one of the first books is about her relationship with Susie. I swear, I thought Susie was adopted. Where is my phone?
I think the back of the book has summaries of the other books.
Mhm.
I don't remember them.
Oh, I mean, like, I looked it up on Wikipedia.
Nice.
I loved the intro that her granddaughter wrote.
Yeah. It's like I have these things with the book, but overall, like I said, it gave me such a sunshiny feeling. Like, I felt so at peace while I was reading it in general. Mostly when the grandfather was talking. Like, honestly, I could read a book of just the grandfather talking. Like,
For real.
I love how, like, the whole intro is kind of how so much of, like, the family's life, and, like, so, like the events or the beliefs were kind of, like, Mod Podge together.
Yeah.
And
so when,
like, I always
some of
think
their
that's really
real
interesting.
stories-
Not all authors can put so much of themselves in that, but I also think it kind of served to, like, the authenticity of, like, the message and the feeling of it.
Yeah, I love that. Where they're like, they would tell stories and you'd be like, oh, this story did happen with this little events. Yeah, I loved.
Like, coming into the, like, this is, like, the fourth book about the Austins, but coming into it was so easy to fall into the family, and even all of, like, the weird otherworldly big ideas that Vicky was, like, having about, like, life, death, and the universe. It was so simple and honest that I'm like, okay, I get why this is for young people, because it's understandable.
Much heart in it too. That's the thing, is it can be easy to write a book like this and it to feel kind of inauthentic, but I just felt like you could feel a pulsing heart behind this book. Like, you could tell that so much of her soul was, like, written into this story, and that's, I think, the big difference between a book by her versus any other book you can pick up on realistic fiction in the same age group. Is it's really set apart by the author, more so than even the story.
Yeah.
But also dolphins, like...
I can't love dolphins.
Every dolphin scene, I was like, this is the best thing. Like, this is the best thing ever. I love it. So I may be a dolphin girl now because of this book.
Yeah! You can join the club!
It just, like, brought me so much joy, and how she could call to them, and they would come to her, and I was like, I want dolphins to come to me.
There's always some sort of, like, weird, like, I don't even think it's, like, she gets put under science fiction a lot, but it's also, especially this one, was almost very magical realism.
Yeah.
Because it has so much to do with, like,
there was such
like, island and landscape itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially when she was like, you just kind of become the ocean, the rocks, the sky.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that was really moving to me was all of her talk about how she would pray, and, like, how her version of prayer was just, like, opening.
At the end, like, when, like her grandfather's sick, and also, like Jeb's in the hospital, and, like, Susie's being a little bitch, and she's like, what will praying do? And then her mom's like, it's an act of love. I was like,
I have that highlighted. Yeah, prayer was never meant to be magic, Mother said. Then why bother with it? Susie scowled. Because it's an act of love, Mother said. I'm like, yeah, that's what it is I just do it to, like, put out, like, vibes into the universe sometimes, and to show someone that I care for them.
Right. It's
like,
a defiance of reality, saying, yeah, fuck what you're going through, there's something better that could be.
Yeah, I don't know, all of her scenes where she was doing that, and the way she described writing as being that same thing as prayer, where it's, like, this other experience, and it's like, that is what writing is. I always say, like, I have no control over my writing. It, like, literally is what happens, and... they described the creative process so well, like, not like the creative, like, you're producing, but the creative as in, like...
Well, you cut up. Say that again.
Can you hear me? Is it working now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the creative process as in, like, kind of the grueling, like, getting words down on paper, but that moment where you're, like, inspired. Like, she described it so well. I freaking love this book.
It's, like, also the creative thing, but, like, I think, I don't remember who, was it her brother, or I think it was Adam. Somebody was talking about, like, when are you most you, and are you thinking about you? And so, like, then she brought up that, like, where she is when she's writing, and then her grandfather when he was, like, meditating. And so it's, like, you're your most you, but you aren't thinking about, you aren't, like, aware of it. You aren't thinking about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, which is kind of like the other time when she was, like, one of the times she was with the dolphin, she's like, you're so often you are happy in hindsight, or you realize you're happy in hindsight, but for the rare moment I was, like, aware of my happiness.
Yeah.
Great.
I have another one of my favorite quotes when they're talking about, like, with the freezing of Zachary's mother, which was, like, fucking weird as hell.
That was real weird.
But then they're like, so what happens to her soul then? And where they're talking about souls, and maybe it's like school, and this life we're in now is probably like being way back in kindergarten. And I want to go all the way through school and college and everything. When you're in kindergarten, you don't have any idea what college will be like. And when you're 4 or 5 years old, you're not able to understand things that will seem simple later on. So talking about how, like, this life is kindergarten, and, like, whatever afterlife we can't even understand because it's like college to a kindergartner. I was like, that is such an amazing metaphor.
Like, and then her little brother comes up with one like that too, where he's like, is there a planet with people who don't have eyes, and when they die they go to a planet where they have eyes, so maybe when we die we'll find something that's important as sight.
Like,
like, that's her strength. Like, these are words coming out of, like, a 7-year-old's mouth.
Yeah.
And it's, like, a huge
childlike
concept.
wonder. She can capture childlike wonder. The questions that we don't ask anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's one of Adam's points when he calls her childish, Vicky, is, like, you get to ask this, you have this curiosity in you that it goes away when you're older, but she gets to keep. And that's her special thing.
But, like, he's like, yeah, but your grandfather has it too.
Yeah.
And then it's like the poet versus scientist thing again.
Philip Pullman and the Dust.
Oh, yeah, Pullman.
Tears.
Oh, I love that trilogy so much.
You haven't read it in so long.
I'm going to reread it. I'm going to. That was part of my book haul, is I'm rereading it. So I talk about how much it depressed me. But I'm gonna put myself.
It's so weird because, like, Pullman was he was, like, very anti, like, C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
He was also, like, a staunch atheist, and I think we said this in the group chat, but I was like, it made me embrace my.
It helped me understand my beliefs. I know. I don't, because I feel like it was a highly spiritual book, even though he was an atheist.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it made you think about things, and if you're meant to kind of go down the atheist route, then that's where it'd take you. But if it, it helped you shepherd down the other route sometimes. So
yeah.
No, it totally.
Well, it's like the same. It's the same question going towards the same as of yet unknown answer. Mm-hmm. So, like, if it connects the two successfully, then your pathway isn't. It can only be encouraged.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the connection I can make between these two is I feel like they both do a good job of doing kind of where's the dichotomy between the scientist and the poet,
Grace.
the adult and the child. Yeah.
She was encompassed by Grace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And kissing is also, like...
Soulmate.
Oh my god, I can't. Oh. But, like, they don't know. They're like, they have no idea how to express, so they're just kind of, like, kissing each other's faces. But then, like, also after that, she can't read by Grace anymore. Just, like, Vicky and her gizzard lizard kisses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. To get married now. I don't know.
But yeah, it's the same thing where it's like understanding the world both from the scientist point of view and the childlike point of view and trying to meet in the middle, which is I feel like what everyone is trying to do is balance the side of logic and reason versus this greater belief, this greater beauty that goes beyond what we can understand with science, which is the, are we like that Earth without eyes where there's something we can't even begin to understand?
Are we human or are we dancer?
Yeah.
I feel like I need to get really drunk now because this is like too deep of a conversation.
I'm not that drunk. This is just me. Hold on.
But no, this is getting too heavy for me to be this sober. So.
Yeah. I like that there's that allegorical but not so allegorical dolphin kite thing, like dolphin sees the eyes of the universe deal.
Thanks for all the fish.
I just want dolphin best friends now.
I literally was not afraid of sharks when I was little because I thought a dolphin would come rescue me. I'm pretty sure a dolphin is my Patronus. It could also be a horse. I'm not sure.
Almost definitely some kind of cat. I just am too cat-like to not be a cat.
Cat life. I learned that leopards are my favorite cat because at the zoo I went to all the different cat exhibits, as you should. And none of them were doing anything relatable except the leopard was trying to get through the other side of its thing through this little tunnel, but it was closed. So it gave up and started scratching itself on a rock, just like this. And I was like, I get you. I would do the same thing. I give up on the people letting me do a thing and I go scratch myself.
When I was in London, they gave us zoo tickets so we could go to the zoo and find a representative. I don't want to say spirit animal because that means something different, but a physicality animal for our character. And so I picked the lemur for my character, who is a well-off Austrian gentle lady who was having an affair with a schoolboy while also trying to occasionally seduce her husband because she was bored. So mine was a lemur.
Nice.
And they kind of sit cross-legged and do little poses, and then they kind of groom themselves, and then they leap around.
Yes,
I was I love it. They're posturing little fucks.
Yes.
Oh my god.
The kitty.
She was asleep. Yeah, she was asleep in my sweater.
I feel like I am a cat. I need a dog.
She's like, why are you still awake, and why are we not under the covers? So, she's very confused. Said we are meant to be cuddling, but you're making noise.
Oh, I want a cat.
I love my cat.
I'm not gonna finish this burger.
All that trouble. Okay.
Ooh, I'm with these French fries and eggs tomorrow.
By the way, F you guys for getting me into anime, because now I'm total trash.
Yeah,
wow, you
I'm
suck.
so kind. I need a new one. The thing is, having to get it off of some sketchy website. One is annoying, but it's also difficult.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
go
help
to
with the whole binge watching
Crunchyroll.
thing.
Crunchyroll can have commercials, but it's not sketchy.
I can't hear. Can you just text me the name?
Yeah. But so I've been trying to I've been not into a very wanting to read or watch deep content. So I've just been kind of watching trash. But then I watched a show called Angel Beats. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's it's total hilarious. And then you get to the last episode and you're like, what the fuck? And then you start sobbing. And so I was like, this is hilarious.
Yes.
The episode where it's where they're shooting them up in the seats to the seat. I was like, this is so funny and just totally random and stupid. And then I get to the last episode and I just sit there and sob. I was like, wow, screw anime. I can never anticipate what feels I'm gonna have.
I can't watch regular Netflix TV shows because I always think people are gonna die because I've watched so much anime where just suddenly swerve and someone gets shot and I'm like, where did that come from? Yeah. And I just expect it all the time.
What do I watch next? I don't think I've. I think I started watching. Right? What?
You watched Full Metal last?
I watched Your Lie in April, and then I started
Your Lie in April. Did that
Snow with the Red Hair, but that one was something I had to that
Yeah,
wasn't
you have to be in a-
wasn't on like a loop. So I kind of got bored of finding the right link.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, Your Lie in April destroyed me. I still, like...
Can I just say that, like, that is my favorite, like, the violin song she played, and it's the only one that she plays, is my favorite. It's one of my favorite, like, classical pieces. Like, when I was 12, my friend had bougie parents, because she was, like, an only child, and so we all went to the symphony, and, like, that was the one song, and I, like, took the program home and I looked up the song and I went through all of the different versions of it on YouTube, and I have my favorite version, like Janine Jansen in Berlin. That's my favorite violin song, and that's what they fucking played.
I still have the opening song, and I have it in my
First
playlist.
one is better.
What?
The first one is better than the second one.
I don't listen to the second one. I just only acknowledge the first one. But the first one, I'll still listen to it in the car, and it'll come on right as the sun is rising when I'm driving to work, and then I just start crying, and I'm like, God damn it. Like,
but it's so happy.
It's so happy, but it gives me so many emotions. Like, the happiness is too much, you know?
I guess.
I get that way. I get that way, where the happiness
Speaking
is too
of anime
much.
openings, the first one I ever, like, properly watched outside of my childhood was, of course, like, Host Club. So every once in a while, you're just like, kiss, kiss, fall in love. We talk about this, how, like, dolphins were on land and they came back to sea. It was, like, so we were like, dogs are dolphins. It's just, like, they went back into the water and turned into dolphins. And I was like, I'm such a dolphin girl, and I forgot about it. Oh, my God.
I've heard horror stories from dolphins through a podcast.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Actually, I think the reason I was never a dolphin girl is because when I was young, I accidentally...
Were you a wolf girl?
I was a nothing girl. I've never had a favorite animal.
Were you a dragon girl?
I was none. I've never had, like, an animal thing. But...
I didn't think I did either!
So, with the dolphins, though, I got scarred for life when I was really little because me and my sisters accidentally watched a Animal Planet documentary about dolphins. And in this documentary, we learned that dolphins keep other dolphins as sex slaves. So they, like, will kidnap dolphins from other pods and hold them as sex slaves. Like, and
they really do.
Because dolphins are more like
humans. Did you
humans.
hear one that, like, they tried to raise a human, like, with a dolphin, like, with humans? Because they're so similar and they can make these connections when they meet them, but why don't, like, try having, like, one from birth?
Mm-hmm.
And so they, like, flooded a house so that, like, the person could come and go. I don't know what the arrangement was, but, like, the dolphin, like, imprinted on the human. So, like, when, like, puberty happened, they were like, oh, this person, and not, like, my own species. So what ended up happening is, like, this, like, human had to come and, like, jack off the dolphin every day, so, like, it would just calm down.
Frowning. Yes. There was a podcast on that recently that a friend of mine listened to and told me about. I was like,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, because they can feel, like, the happiness, they can feel the malice, too. So when they would do, like, with the sex slave things, like, they were, like, doing it to be mean, not, like, just...
Oh, yeah.
I was like... So, that's...
Okay, let's see if I remember what my credit...
Somebody out there on Tumblr has that kink, and they're looking forward to it.
It's like you think that you're gonna go there and, like, the whole thing with, like, the Wild West and, like, people riding horses to school and stuff is a lie. No, it's actually the truth. Like, I lived in the Dallas suburbs, and people still rode their horses to school. Like, WTF. It was very confusing moving from Chicago to there. I was very, very confused. I moved on, I can't remember if I told you the story already, but I probably wouldn't have remembered it after last time anyways. So, so, every year when the big rodeo comes to Fort Worth, we have rodeo day where everyone dresses up as cowboys and wears like the leather and, you know, like the full on cowboy gear. And we didn't know that. And that was my first day of school. So we walk in there to register me for school, and we know nothing about Texas. We had just moved there. And everyone's wearing cowboy hats and cowboy boots and leather. And me and my sister burst into tears. We're like, Mom, do we have to dress like this to come to school? Like, sobbing. And so that was my first impression of Texas. It didn't get much better from there. Not gonna lie.
Sounds about right.
No, I'm the most, like, where I grew up is the most southern my family's ever lived within North America. So, like, we're all like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's a very confusing world. And then I move up to, like, the wholesome Midwest, and I'm like, wow, there are normal people in this universe.
I wouldn't say that's normal. Those are two places, like the deep south and then like the Midwest are two places I don't think I could live. I don't think I could live outside of New York and in America.
Yeah. The Midwest is like Hufflepuff land, and so it's where I belong.
That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this part?
It really
So
is.
true.
It's like the
It's
Midwest
New
and
York Pride
Canada.
Day.
Yeah, the Midwest and Canada are like full just Hufflepuff. I can get my Hufflepuff Quidditch sweater.
My Ravenclaw mug is downstairs. I don't want to get it. I don't own other Ravenclaw stuff. I guess it's time to buy one for next time.
I got it at Harry Potter World. It was the one merchandise I bought because everything else was...
It's just like a really nice sweater, though.
I know, it's
Cool
like
sweater.
really actually like a legit sweater. Everything else was like crap and overpriced, and I was like, I can get it way better on Etsy, but that is like Scottish wool, like it's hella nice. So
Alright, I will make up for the fact that my Ravenclaw stuff is far and away with my ghost cloak.
yes,
Haha.
I just missed my mouth with my popcorn.
Whoosh.
Of hair, want to hear my princess story?
Yeah.
It's like honestly the best thing that's ever happened to me. One of like probably top 5 is, so I work with different special needs kids throughout the day, and so one of the girls I'm with is we figured out she, I don't know, kind of thinks I'm a princess. And so when I wear dresses, I can motivate her
You're a princess.
I can motivate her to do work by telling her, if you do work, then we can go into the hallway and I'll spin. Because I wore a dress one time, and when I spun and like the skirt twirled out and everything, she was so excited by it. And so now that I actually get her to do more work than she has in the past, because I'm just like, if you do your work, then I'll go in the hallway and I'll spin. And it actually works. So, like, I have such high princess vibes that I'm actually helping a kid with special needs
That's
succeed.
amazing.
So I'm like, this is so great.
That's
So
bloody fantastic.
the only thing
That's
is, though,
nice.
that now I have to wear dresses every day in order to get her to do things. Because I wore a sweater yesterday, and it was like a longish
You wear a
sweater.
sweater and a skirt?
No, I wore that today. But yesterday, I just wore a sweater and leggings. Because it was really, really cold out, and I was like, I can't wear a dress. I just can't do it today.
I think I just sent you that's what my natural hair is, which is not that different. The tumbles.
The blog, the tumbles. Are we getting close to where we profess love to people on the tumbles? Although I'm always ready to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always ready to profess love at any point, at any time, anywhere.
Yeah.
See,
I'm a
but
loving
now because
person.
I'm anime trash, I'm like, love confession. So
I love that they call it confessions now.
Yes.
We're like, a confession? Confess. That's what I want.
they like are
Because, like, perfectly outlines because, like, in fics, I will reread the confessions over and over again. They're my favorite part.
I have a hard time with it sometimes because I'm like, I don't understand why they're not just like go on a date with me. They're like, I'm in love with you. There's like, there's not there's not the in between. I'm like, is it really like that in Japan where they're just like, I'm in love with you?
I almost confessed my Tumblr past, and then I didn't.
What Tumblr past?
Bring it up again. You obviously want to tell us what it is.
I kind of do, and
Confession
it's the
time.
alcohol talking.
Confession time.
Yeah. I quit Tumblr in 2013, and I ran like a pretty reasonably sized aesthetic / girl / fashion blog at the time. And then I stopped doing it, and then I came back on for the Harry Potter fandom on a different, different even longer.
But
my
like,
coworker at work has like 5-10 different blogs that all have thousands of followers, but they're like very distinct like aesthetics and themes, and I'm like, how do you do that?
So what was your aesthetic theme though, like Jewel? Like what was the vibe?
It was like super black and white minimalist.
Love it.
Like fashion-y,
I can
like high
so
fashion-y.
I can so see that though.
I was part of a Christian club all of college, but my senior year, someone threw a party, and so the next day there were stories of like, oh, this Christian party went real hard. It was just me. People were like, oh, people were throwing up and it was crazy. No, it was just me. And I think I gave everyone a bad rep for a week.
You see?
Oh, so cute. What a cute puppy.
But I'll do it.
Look at my cat.
Hello, everyone. I need to find this up.
Look at that.
Where did she sleep in the bed?
They're so
Being like,
cute.
why aren't we sleeping yet?
2 different cats.
Jewel.
I'm gonna party to that.
Look at this puppy.
Look at
Hi,
them.
kitties.
It's like, oh no, I've been caught. I must sleep.
Hi, kitties. I'm one of you.
Ella.
Hello, kitties.
Ella, Bell, Ella.
What are y'all up to?
Your nose. Wait, poop your nose. Oh my goodness. 2 nose boops.
How do I turn this up to the max?
Max.
To the max.
I feel like this is the money shot right here.
Oh my god, everyone has animals.
Dogs.
And
What
I'm
are
so
we
I don't have any other live things in my house except roommates. Just
Your
party.
roommate is your pet.
Yeah. My freshman year, me and my roommate were the same person, and also he was a cat, and therefore I was a cat and my roommate. It's beautiful. People would change our names.
Emma's horizontal.
I got there. It's end of the night. I'm horizontal.
Have I changed my accent? I can't remember.
Not yet.
Although apparently I sent Elle a snap last night. Then she was like, "Oh yeah, you went southern," and I was like, "Okay."
That's enough dancing. If I move around anymore, it's not gonna be good for me.
Like, that's what I grew up
Fair.
watching.
Gilmore Girls.
That.
If you ask what like fictional character I relate to most, it's Lorelai Gilmore.
Holy shit, wow. That is you. Wow. I'm halfway between Liz Lemon and Leslie Knope. I'm like a mix.
So interesting.
I don't have my shit together, and I super
Liz,
have
can't
my
you just be happy for once? No, because society.
I'm split completely between the two.
Yeah, I see that.
Interesting.
That's a nice split.
Interesting.
Sometimes I have, and then Jess from New Girl.
Yeah.
That's the teacher
Yeah.
me. My favorite is in the beginning episodes, and she's like taking things out of
When
her
she
purse.
sings.
No, she's at the beginning of the first season, and she's taking
She
things out
also
of her
she used
bag.
to sing. I liked
Yeah.
when she sang, and then they're like, "That's too unrealistic," and I'm like, "Are you sure?"
But she's taking things out of her bag, and it's like a pirate mask, and then like all of these markers, and that's like me. My kids keep on fucking losing all of the expo markers, all the dry erase markers, and that's
Oh, that's
the only
awful.
way. One of my kids, I can only get her to do work by doing it on a whiteboard, but there's no fucking expo markers in this entire goddamn school, and so I started bringing my own, and so I have like. And that's why I have to have pockets, is because I'm constantly carrying around like 5 different dry erase markers at all times. Like, this is my life. And then they hand me like tissues and mittens and Band-Aids. One of the girls has to carry around a Band-Aid all the time. And so I just like have all these things that I don't know where they came from. Drawings and stories.
Fully equipped.
All the time. I love my job, but it's so confusing. I live in a different world. It's ruled by children.
Oh,
I'm outnumbered by children. Think of that. It's like 30-1.
that's crazy.
There's like so many of them and so few of me.
Well, I'm just gonna send you a picture of my tongue.
Of your tongue?
Oh gosh. That's
Quality
great.
content you can expect in the future.
Yes. Here we go.
Why?
Get Snapchat, if only to make sure I'm still alive. / I sing at work a lot.
Wait, but you said
/ I send Elle a lot of like stories about crazy shit I've done, to the point where I've conned her into thinking that I'm an interesting human being.
I love at the beginning of our friendship when we were like trying to tell each other our coolest stories because we wanted to impress each other so much. And then we're like, oh wait, we're just like trying to make each other seem cool because we really want to be friends. And now I just send you
have like
Black
a lot of
Panther
weird stories,
Mhm.
but I also want y'all to think I'm cool.
I do think so. I think both
Everyone's
of you guys are cool.
You're cool.
Now I just
And
send
Both
you
of you are cool.
Black Panther cartoons.
What?
Now,
What?
me and Melina started out trying to impress each other, and now we send each other cartoons of Black Panther where he's
The little cat
like,
ones?
pushing things
All of
off
them, but
the-
yeah.
all of them. Ooh, Black Panther.
Oh, Petals is awake.
Petals.
I know she
awake.
went to a trivia night.
Petals.
Where is she?
Who are we sending drunk love to?
Everyone.
Your
Okay, let's.
your dream of them was everything.
What? What is happening?
Jules' dream
That was
about the
that was a
Squid
real
Squad.
dream.
Oh, that was fantastic.
That was a real dream. I dreamt most of those things.
Okay,
It was
I had a
crazy.
dream. Okay, that's a useless video. I had a dream that like I think I have this thing where I'll wake up at like 8 every day, even though I usually don't because I don't go to work until like the afternoon because I close. But I'll wake up with the sun because I have no curtains, and then usually that's when like I've gotten snaps from Elle because she snaps in the car on her way to work.
Oh God.
So
I know she gets
opened
yelled
up
at a
and
lot
I think
about
I saw
that.
like a picture of her and her kid, and then I went back to sleep, and so like me, her, and the kid and Thor all went to an aquarium. Except was it really an aquarium? It was more like we were just swimming around in the ocean, and we were like hanging out with whales. And I was like, "This is fun."
You gotta write that one up. Was it Thor
No, it's
like
weird. It's
long
weird
hair?
because it has to do with her baby, and I'm like, that's just awkward.
Melina, I had a dream that I
Fair.
visited you in New York one time, and we just
Do it, please.
I need to. I do. I need to.
You would be so freaked out though. I'm so New York. I'm so New York. Oh my god.
I'm pretty
I
good
don't
at
give a
rolling with the
shit.
punches.
Like,
I'd be like,
oh,
just as long as I don't get murder raped, then I'm fine.
you won't. You would constantly think you were going to be, but you wouldn't be.
But I live in Wisconsin. I still constantly think I'm going to be. So like,
I mean,
do you want me to show you my bedside table
Milwaukee is
knife?
a weird town.
I have a bedside table knife. This is in case the murderers come.
Oh my god!
It's my bedside
I
table
thought
knife.
it was like a little.
No, it's a big knife.
That's a big knife with a sheath that's made of leather.
I know.
I mean, like, I don't really understand. Like, say somebody sneaks into your house and wakes you up. Are you going to be able to grab this knife?
I probably not.
I don't doubt it.
But
I think currently my main deterrent is the fact that there's the front door, there's like 5 floors, and then there's the front lock. So I don't think anybody's going to come all the way up.
that was more for when I lived in Oklahoma and I lived in the crack neighborhood. Because
Oh.
that was a real risk. That was, I could definitely have been murdered at any point. I'm very surprised that I got out alive.
I'm really surprised because I live up in like the cheap neighborhoods of like Manhattan, and so like you do have like just like a lot of like Dominican families, and so like that's safe and fine. But then just because it's in general like cheap, you also kind of get like drug dealers and like a bunch of guys who just hang out in front of the bodegas at all hours of night getting drunk and yelling at things. And so, you know, you walk home from the subway and because my fucking pale ass skin glows, they're always like, "Ay, gringuita!"
Oh, I live in a very Mexican area of SoCal, so
Here's the thing, I can't understand Dominican accents. I don't
heard
know
enough.
what they're saying.
Everyone here is Mexican. Not everyone, but most of the people I went to school with.
It doesn't matter because I'm South American. There are only 10,000 Bolivians, and they're not outside of Bolivia, and they're not in New York.
They're like in Florida.
I can't get a good salteña in this state. But it also just means that like I can't understand Central American accents that well.
Where's Bolivia?
So it's different. But like it's also like I feel like when I'm walking home late at night, like my mother would hate that I do this / doesn't really know that I just walk home. Well, now my apartment now is a lot closer to the subway, but it used to be like 5 blocks away. But like so like in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is not the safest thing. On the other hand, I'm like, midnight stroll on my way home. I'm gonna get in bed. Yay. What was I once?
Before you were a witch?
Where I was a witch? I don't do a lot of witchy things. I feel like I just exude general witchiness.
Yeah, it's kind of a state of being. You don't have to cast spells to be a witch. You just gotta do you.
I spend so much time meowing at my cats that sometimes if I'm in a distressing situation in public, I'll like accidentally meow. and so my parents get really embarrassed when I go out to places with them because I'll just be like, "No," and I'm like,
That's
"Oh
my
wait,
favorite thing.
that's not a normal noise to make when you're around people in public." So sometimes
that's my favorite thing of all time. So great.
Distressed meows. That's how I deal with emotions.
Poor little cluckers.
Wait, did you guys see the author of Life and Times who did the thing where
Jewel?
Yeah.
I'm so sad. I never got to finish the story because I was like, I want to finish Calm, and then also like it's good, and like maybe if I keep waiting, she'll update. But she has like 40 pages written of the next chapter, and she's just abandoning it.
I know.
Oh, I saw that. That's
She's
really
officially
sad.
abandoned
I'm so sad.
And I am like, why continue?
And like, it's like the thing I was holding off, like I had gotten to a point where like one arc ended, and then like the arc that was like more of like James and Lily getting to know each other started. And I had kind of cut off knowing that, being like, okay, I'll get to this later, closer to like a potential future or something. And now I feel like it's just lost.
James and Lily
also,
on the tables in the Great Hall while he like smokes a cigarette on like Halloween or whatever is such an iconic scene.
Yeah.
No, I haven't read that.
The best entrance. James should punch people in every fic. I'm 100% on board with Marie. Arden needs to get punched.
Completely.
Eric needs to get punched.
Yep.
Nigel needs to get punched.
Yep.
All of these OCs need to get punched. Nicholas needs to get punched.
Always.
They all. I mean, they're not.
It's like
punch them.
I feel the same about all of them as I do, like you said, about the Nazis. Is they should always be getting punched. OCs should always be getting punched. I just think that's how the world is supposed to work.
But like,
except for but then in, I feel like, what is her name? Camilla. Someone posted, I think it was All Right Snaps, where she was like, I don't understand how their world can exist. I don't know if you went to this part where Camilla is having copious amounts of sex with James Potter and Lily Evans isn't. Carlotta!
I know that they get together and it doesn't make sense to me, but like, okay.
I can't reread because the second I get to the part where she exists, like, I can't anymore, and so...
She already, like, I got to the part where she's already, like, fucked up, and I think they've kind of, like, come back together about it with, Frank and Alice.
Yeah.
But, like, it's, like, the point where it's, like, I was holding off, but now I'm like, what's the point of reading it when I just, like, know that the only thing there is disappointment, and no hope for the future. Because I can hold on till Colonel, but, like...
It's just, like, it ended right before they actually got together, and...
Exactly!
I will never not be disappointed by all of this.
But also, I think it was either... Because two, like, at least on my dash, like, Dear Prongs and All Right Snaps, which I think is, like, Kara and... I don't know what All Right Snap's name is, but they were like, one of them posted like best pickup line, hey, want to go to a protest? And I'm like, no, legit, like that's probably the best pickup line to use on me. I fucking like last year, my senior year was a huge protest year. Like literally, we would go to class, we would go to a protest. We would have protests against our school and our campus, and we'd have protests against, like, the world, because it's New York. And I'm like, and like, specifically me also, like, that was part of my, like, reputation. Melina has weird snaps that have a lot to do with karaoke. Melina is politically involved. Like, genuinely.
What a combination. I love it.
Like I was like this is a very fandom-y thing, but also like this just self-contained is so accurate to me as a human.
The hats, when they're all wearing the hats, and then Sam.
I got to the part. I think I got to the end of 6th year. She's broken up with Luke, and like they've had that whole thing with Luke's brother.
But did you go to the
Andromeda shows up?
Have you seen the actual protest one though?
No, I didn't get that far. I think I'm solidly.
That's the
in
best
the 20s.
chapter though. That's the best chapter in all of them.
I know, and I was saving it for a distant future.
I like that influenced my writing so much. Like I can name like authors that influenced my writing, and then like. The Life and Times influenced my writing.
What are some of my favorites? I love, I think, like, a lot of favorites, but the favorites that I remember are The Underground. I think I've talked to y'all about how much that was just like, L, why are you stalking me? I think, what is it? Buried Treasure and Transmography.
Oh, yeah. My first smut.
I loved it so much.
Never forget your first.
Wait, which one?
Buried Treasure and Transmogrify? Or
Oh, I
Transmogrify?
haven't read that one.
It's really good. It's very
so good.
explicit.
I mean, I don't read smut, but
It's so good. Love and Other Tragedies. My favorite.
Wait, what is this like? What is it? It's like, Other Lives and Dimensions and Finally a Love Story.
I haven't read that one.
That's a really good one.
But Love and Other Tragedies has my favorite OC.
I
I can't remember what his name is right now, but
I
he's
need
my
to read.
favorite.
I read The Bet. The Bet is really uneven because like she wrote it like in real time,
Yeah.
which is an amazing feat, and you see her grow so much.
Yeah.
But like, it's just the whole thing is just really fun.
I enjoyed it. It's a happy thing. I love rereading it because it just makes me happy, and it's so sassy.
I read All Right Evans. I remember enjoying All Right Evans. I don't remember All Right Evans.
Yeah,
there's a lot of like long ones that I've read in like 2 nights, like staying up, that I just don't remember. But I feel bad.
Sunshine in My Eyes. That has influenced me a lot.
Monroe's Little. I went on like a kind of weekend of reading her. Like,
Dead.
I physically felt ill. Like, it was that weird like hypochondria empath thing where like I felt like I was dying.
I understand so much. What else are my favorites? A Month of Sundays.
I mean, yours is one of my favorites, but like we've discussed this. I've cried about it. It's fine.
Bloody Shangri-La. My Shangri-La. Favorite AU.
Shangri-La. I know I need to read that one.
Oh,
but
it's
like,
so good.
I'm
the James in that one is sexy AF, but it's not an explicit fic, but it's just like sexy
That's
AF.
Talent. That is a talent,
So
especially
sexy.
like in the smutty world we live in these days.
He is so angsty, but in like the sexiest way ever. Oh my god. And then Haggis from Algernon.
I haven't read it yet.
You haven't read it?
Like,
What?
One, so that I can enjoy it.
How can you be a Ghost of
2,
Bambi
for my
friend
feeling
if
like
you
shit,
haven't read it?
and
What?
I know. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm so sorry.
But we have to end this because now you have to go read that.
Bambi are 2 of my favorite people / authors in the universe.
Okay, but nothing will ever come
playing
close.
the hero, being the fool, pulled me into fandom. Because I was waiting for the updates, and I haven't read it because I'm scared of it. Because then I'll be finished with it, and then I won't have it anymore.
I am like,
I look so distraught.
I'm so distraught. It's everything. It's the best. Like, it is top. It is my two. My 2 are Life and Times and Hags from Algernon. Like, those are my 2. Those are
I'm a calm person. I love calm.
That's true. That's the 3 prongs of the Jilly fandom. And you have not finished 2 of them.
I know. 2 of them. Because I'm scared to finish them.
No, but that's the thing is, Haggis, it's one that you can reread. And it lives on with you. It's not one that you finish and you feel sad. You don't...
And sometimes Sarah will just, I don't know why. I'm a little shell shocked, but sometimes she just will hop into my message and be like, hey, and she's so cool. And she's so good at writing.
I know, and that's why you need to read it.
I don't know how to express it.
Because
can I drunkenly send her and ask me I love you?
Yeah. Yeah, she's on right now. She's on right now. I've
already done petals, so she deserves one too. Sarah does.
I'm gonna snap petals.
tell her.
You can hear my
I don't know. So here's the thing. I always kind of hoped that Petals' name was actually Petals, even though I knew it couldn't be. But her real name's on her Snapchat, and so I'm like, do I have to call you that now, or can I just keep calling you Petals?
She's Petals forever.
It's such a good, and like also she's just so sunshiny, sweet, and glorious, and I'm like, you're like flowers and petals.
Even if the government requires her,
I'm there now. Good.
even if the government requires her to have a real legal name, she's Petals forever.
Petals! It's Booktube night, which means we're talking about how much we love you. So, hi.
It's weird hearing all the Julie love because I started in Hinny, and Julie's kind of just the extension.
Sorry, Julie's talking. I need to go listen to him. But I want you to know that I love you, Petals. And I hope you did well on trivia night.
What's our favorites?
My favorite is Griffey.
Do you? Yes. She has been giving me updates on her figure skating fic because I just send her constant anytime. And guys, it's glorious. It is so glorious. I can't even tell you. I read it and I squeal. There's a sexy dancing scene, and I just like.
Obviously.
I love her.
I can't wait.
Name.
Griffey. Oh, Griffey.
Yeah.
Got me into the Tumblr.
Yes. And who else? Okay, do you ever feel though when the Squid Squad is like, you know, they're like going back and forth about things? Do you ever feel like they're your parents and you're like in the middle of a divorce and you're like, the lawyering society comes in and you're like, Mom, Dad, don't get a divorce? Like, I get really invested.
Like they were talking about how they had that thing today where they were like, oh, Bex and Levins got married. And then Petals was like, I'm the only one who's single. And then I was like, when did I get married? And I was like, you're married to robots. Obviously.
Wait, is Robots married?
IRL, yeah.
I didn't know that.
She has 2 babies that are not babies, but I call anyone who's younger than me a baby.
I did not know that. I did, but I also didn't, you know?
How do I send Sarah an ask?
Go to her Tumblr.
Hi, we are drunk booktubing. Boob tubbing.
Boob tubbing, you keep that. You can't edit now.
No.
Wait.
We are drunk booktubing and spreading love. We love you. I love you. Thank you for all you do. Oh, wow. Hold on.
I sent an ask to Petals, though, telling her to shame you for not reading Haggis, though. So, just wait. Yes, I did. I already did.
Public shaming. Public shaming.
So, coming at you.
Like, you're telling Mom.
You're telling Mom.
I do. I feel like we're their children because they're like just over that, like a little, just far enough away that they feel like they have.
Liar, pants on fire.
Petals does call us the little dolphin children.
Yes, Squidlet.
Like as we realize, like I'm legit an OG dolphin girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is such a revelation, even though it's been a truth the whole time. Okay, so far I have hi, we are drunk booktubing and spreading love. We love you. I love you. Thank you for all you do. Emily is a liar, liar, pants on fire.
Wait, I didn't send it to her. I sent it to Petals.
They'll figure it out.
About
so you know what I'm saying?
No, about you not reading Haggis. I sent it to Petals. Wait, are you sending it to Petals or to Sarah?
I sent Petals a snap. I'm trying to send Sarah an ask.
I didn't tell her about you not reading.
I'm going to. I'm just saving it because it's gonna be special, and I need to wait until. It's like, no, I should read it because on like pain scales. I don't fucking understand pain scales, but you know how people are like always afraid to say that they're in like a level 10 pain because they want to hold out for the 10 pain. I feel like I'm waiting for my level 10 pain to read Haggis, and I should just do it.
There's no pain. It's only happiness. There's no pain.
That's what I mean. I need to wait for the time for when I could most benefit. Which is, like, to be honest, is now because I've spent the last week bedridden because my back hurts so much from being bad and also walking up 5 flights of stairs multiple times a day.
See, but you can read it now because her character of James and Lily there, she develops them in all of her other fics. So as long as she's writing, you'll get the same...
I've read all the new ones.
But she has new ones still. She still has...
I know.
Catastrophe and Free. I haven't read Free yet. And...
It's so good.
I'm gonna cry if I read it. I've been reading so much, like, historical romance that I think if I read that and those two worlds came
You
together...
only told me about one of them. Give me all of them.
I have a stack. Do you want to see what I'm bringing with me to the hospital?
Yes! Obviously!
Yes.
Do you know that we don't have romance books at my freaking bougie-ass, like, bookstore? We don't have them!
You need to read Julia Quinn. She's the funniest. Julia Quinn is the funniest. And then Julie Garwood is more like... I read her for, like, Highland romance with the Scots, because that's sexy AF.
You mean the ones that are all ripping off of Outlander, but you don't like Outlander?
Yeah, so they're similar to that. Judith McNaught is who you want to read if you want to, like, get super angsty. I cry during most of her books, and then I, like, skip over the smutty parts because I'm too distracted by the crying. So, and then Lisa Kleypas is a good start, but the first book you need to read is Julia Quinn, The Duke and I.
It's not a book. That's a person.
The book, The Duke and I. The Duke and I. The book and I.
It's not a book, that's a person. I feel like we should drunk read a fic.
Yes.
No,
we
wait,
should read Haggis.
Can we legitimately make a drunk podfic?
Yes.
Like, that's really an idea.
This is the one you need to read. Julia Quinn, The Duke and I.
The Duke and I.
Do it.
I love Dukes. Dukes are great.
I like the adjectives on the
I
front
feel
of it.
like just the very close linguistic relationship. Not linguistic, maybe like sound. Okay, I can't even like fudge this to sound eloquent, but like Duke and Dick are just so close together sounding that I feel like it just adds to the smuttiness. Anyways, I'm more of a Jenny.
Okay.
Although, like, we all aspire. I mean, I aspire to be a Lily, so maybe one day.
Bill
But we all fucking want a James Potter. Let's just be straight up about that.
Bill Vinnick art has made me love Henny more than I could ever believe.
I always loved Tinny.
I started with the Hennies.
And they're...
Well, like, I mean, reading the books, I loved Tinny.
It progressed it so much further, but their James Potter is exactly how I picture James Potter.
Who?
Bill Vinnick art.
I mean, her real name's Bianca.
Blank art?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just say blank. No! Yes! Okay! So, like, we all know my shoulder thing. Like, we know this. This is old news.
It's fact.
But, like, also, like... Everyone knows that James Potter has a jaw thing.
I know, and the jaw thing in
and
there.
Like, I don't know where it came from, but blank art has captured, refined, perfected the jaw thing. But more so than that, she, like, mixed it with Lily, and so now Harry's got his own jaw has fucking talent. Can we send? I'm sending her some drunk love right
Do
now.
it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
The jaw. I will never get over the jaw. And the NSFW one, I'm just like, that is the sexiest art.
Did you see his butt? Did you see his butt though?
I know. I'm like,
Those
this
are too
should
lewd
hang
for
in
me.
the museum.
Scandalized.
They're scandalous. I follow it. But also,
Question.
Our little innocent.
I see it and I'm like, oh no. Oh.
But also, like,
It's not letting. Does she turn off asks? Is it only on sometimes?
One of them is, I don't know.
Where is the other one? What? I'm so sad. Let me love you.
No, I just want to sing Mario.
Why?
Ah!
Because that's part of the song. Let me love you.
What song?
Hi. We are drunk.
The Mario song.
That is my
Baby, let me love
solution.
you.
I've only listened to the Wombats for the past, like, month and a half.
Oh, that's
so
fair.
it's
That's fair.
erased all music. Everyone on Tumblr ruined me. I can only listen to the Wombats now. And I'm like, God damn all of you. I have no interest in other bands now.
Have you read Bond's fucking Wombat fake that she fucking leaves you on a fucking cliffhanger and she's somewhere in Europe and like traveling around and isn't writing any other ones and it hurts me because it
Wait,
ends
who's?
and she's like, come home to me and then the call drops and you're like, just give me a try. Just
Wait,
give me a try.
who is
Is
it?
worth the risk?
Wait, who is it? Who's fic?
Come on. Steve, okay.
Wait,
Steve
who's?
Harrington, formerly Fantastic Beasts, has written 2 Wombat fics for like the same-ish universe. One of them was about Love Division, the other one was about Give Me a Try. They got me, the first one got me listening to Twitter.
I like Emoticons and Flower Ball right now. They're my spring songs. Walking Disasters. I was like pretty much doing
Has
the same
somebody
thing.
done a Princess Bride fic? And if not, why?
Oh no.
Let me find a
I
short
don't
Julie
know.
Who could do it? Probably Petals. But Petals is doing so many things.
I wish that people...
Ghost of Bambi. Sarah would be amazing.
Should we read a Sarah? Ghost of
She
Bambi
would be
fic?
amazing at a Princess Bride fic, but she's doing free, which is like not a Princess Bride fic.
What was I gonna
It's
say?
similarly mid as a princess.
Where is the Julies?
But I need somebody to yell inconceivable. She has like on fire skin and like
You know
drug
it would be
pirate
like
objects.
fucking Peter, little rat face would be inconceivable.
Oh my god, you would
Fucking
be.
Peter. And then he dies.
No! Remus could be Fezzik. And then, because he's, like, misunderstood because of some sort of physical difference. And then Sirius could be Inigo Montoya. Because,
Yeah.
like, the backstory maybe not the same, but, like, that
But like
swagger.
saying luscious black locks.
It's true. Luscious black locks.
I don't know what his revenge thing would be, though.
You killed my brother. Prepare to die.
Yes!
Ah!
And then Wesley's obviously James.
Sexy.
Well, yeah.
And then Snape can be Humperdinck.
The Dread Pirate, James.
Yes.
No, it's not Dread Pirate James, it's Dread Pirate Roberts.
It's true. Dread Pirate Roberts was actually James.
Dread Pirate
Yeah.
Potter.
No, okay, Dread Pirate Roberts is like the name, and then they kind of pass it off to the next person.
Yeah.
So it's like nobody would give up to the Dread Pirate Wesley, so he uses the name Dread Pirate Roberts.
That movie, I want to watch it immediately. Okay, I remember what I was going to say. I I wish that you could take, like, what a musical is and turn it into a fic.
Yes! I'm so
Take
sorry.
what?
I'm so sorry to scare the dog. No, especially because, like, in Petals Enchanted fic, I wanted musical numbers. I wanted musical numbers so bad. And, like, she put in musical elements or brought in the themes of some of the songs into the fic. Like, there was, like, the So Close chapter. But I fucking wanted, okay, so, like, the movie takes place near where my university was, like, in Central Park.
Because you're a
I was like, that's me, that's Dance in the Park. And I know Kensington Gardens more than I know Hyde Park, because she moved it to London. But I wanted that Tao, you know. And she couldn't put it in.
I love that song.
How do you do it? How do you combine the two? Do you just put, like, a song file in it or something?
I want the dance number, you know?
Number. How do you write a dance number?
I just want it all in there. Because I've been watching, like, my old school musicals, too. Like, High Society. That was the most relatable, unrelatable...
Yes, you were talking about it. I need to watch it.
I just, that entire movie, I was like, mood. Speaking of fantasy books, so I have my fantasy series that I'm working on that I think I told you guys about that I finally wrote down.
Yeah.
Guess what the first book involves? Lesbian princesses. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so good. It's pretty much like my character Ellie, and I'm making it a book series, and then she falls in love with, like, a girl that's pretty much like a samurai girl. And it's gonna be the greatest thing ever.
I love it already. Oh, okay. I have a thing to celebrate that. You ready?
Yeah.
Turn this off. Party! I went to a rave that my friend was DJing at, and they had a bunch of these given out for free. Here, I can even switch modes to the super fast. I dropped it.
I want to go to a rave so bad.
Yo, it was this, like, underground warehouse rave.
Oh my god.
In the middle of, like, a random city that looks so sketchy. But it's free.
I don't remember the last time I read a book by a man.
That's fair.
Yeah, I feel that. I've really
Men are yummy, but also really boring.
Men are yummy, but boring?
Yeah. I'm very good at living in denial, because that's actually where I live.
In Egypt.
In Egypt. Denial. But no. I just got that joke! I've never gotten that joke before! I've never gotten that joke before! Oh my god! My life was just blown! Oh my god, how did I not get that?
I will celebrate for you.
I'm actually crying a little bit. I can't believe I never got that before today. I'm really embarrassed. Nile's not just a river in Egypt. I get it now. Okay, I have to tell you about the worst white person thing I've ever done in my life that I just can't believe I did this. So I went to see Black Panther by myself because it was like a weird night and I didn't want to wait for anyone.
Justin!
So I went to see it by myself and I went at one of the movie theaters where you buy the seat ahead of time. So you have like your assigned seat. So I went to go see it and I'm like, the only white person there because it's Black Panther and the first like week and a half it came out, like I don't think any white people went to see it because everyone was like, okay, it's black people's time. They
In
own it.
Wisconsin?
They knew.
In Wisconsin, yeah. I live in
Okay.
Milwaukee. There's huge population. But so...
Yeah,
It was
there-
like everyone I know went to see it. It was just a mainly black audience for me because I saw it like late night in Harlem.
That's...
Mhm.
I think where I was... I don't know. But so it was an almost all black audience when I was there. But so I went to take my seat, and I was like it was one of those where I was like right next to this person, but the seats next to me were all empty. So I was like, okay, I don't like to sit next to people because I get weird. And so I was like, okay, if they don't come in once we're like 5 or 10 minutes into the movie, then I'm going to move down to the next seat. So I don't have to sit right on top of these other people. And so they didn't come, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to move down. Well, then like a couple minutes later, like an entire black family came in, and I was like in their seats, and it was right after one of the colonizer jokes, and I was like, God damn, I colonized their movie seat. I'm that person. I was so ashamed. I was like, I'm the only white person in this theater, and I took their seats. God damn it, I'm like...
That joke, like,
Oh, that's
Shuri!
I know, it was
Shuri!
like right after that joke, and I was like, no, I'm the
That movie made me
colonizer.
Like, she single-handedly changed that word
I know.
in a joke.
I know. Yeah, so I colonized a movie scene in Black Panther. I was like, okay, I'm ready to go outside and shoot myself. Like, this is the end. I've never been more ashamed of my whiteness than in this
Oh.
moment.
Quote.
This isn't like a race thing, but it's, I suppose, like an able-bodied thing. So I remember once I was on like the subway, and it was really, really crowded, as it gets, you know. And so it gets to the point where like everybody, if you're not in a seat, you're all kind of like squished right next to each other. So you can't really look around, and whenever you get off at the stop, like people next to the door, whether or not they need to actually disembark, they just like get off and let people go through. It's crowded, you can't really see anything, everybody's tripping over everyone. And so it gets to my stop, and like I try to get off, and then I trip over something, and I like turn around to say sorry, and I realize that I have tripped over a blind woman's like walking stick. And so like obviously like I go to apologize, but what comes out oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Because I didn't see her stick, and that's why I tripped over it, but that's not what you need to say.
Okay,
And then immediately I was just like bolting because I was like, fuck. Wait, I like chat, I like told y'all. An Irishman called me out for mirroring his accent, and it was really embarrassing.
Oh, God. I remember the text. What happened exactly?
Okay, so everyone has like a customer service voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know? My customer service voice
Yes.
just happens to be very English. But on top of that,
Yes.
this Irish man comes in, and I can't do an Irish accent. Like, I can do a very good, like, English one, and then I can kind of fudge it to sound like any random ass, like, I can parrot accents well. But this man comes in, and his name is, he's very Irish. Like, I taken his name for the membership. He's Irish. And so he's like, oh, he's like, so do I detect an Irish accent? And I'm like, and I was like, no. And he's like, oh, well, where's your accent from? And I was like, here? And he's like, no, well, what's that from? And then I was like, I don't know, my parents are foreign. I'm only one of my parents is foreign, but I was like, it's probably just yours. I'm like mirroring it back, and I'm like, The thing is, then I go, and it's very awkward, and he's my last customer of the day, and so then I get, like, tagged out, and I go upstairs, and I tell one of my coworkers about it. The thing is, he's dealing with a weird customer who was like, can I borrow your phone so I can take a voice memo to record this song idea I have in my head, and then have you email it to me, even though a much easier solution would be for me to call my own phone and leave a voicemail. But no, and so he's there, and so I'm telling my coworker this, and then so the man across the bookstore at this point, he's like, "Oh, you're doing an Irish accent," and then he puts on like a really disgusting one, like a really offensive one, and I was like, at least mine was enough to convince this Irish man that I was maybe of his country. This is just offensive. And also, like, you're interrupting a private conversation of my shame.
I hate people. Gross.
What are we summoning?
He's singing the intro.
What's on my head? Oh.
No, don't leave.
I'm so glad that you guys just embraced
Diaries wave.
Is this our bye?
Tradition now. This is a thing.
Oh no, this is gonna be a gift, isn't it? Oh my god, there's that Justin Bieber song. I think it's Sorry, and we did a bunch of dances going, it's too late now, be sorry. And we just did the dinosaur to it the rest of the whole time. So I feels it.
Okay. I'm gonna actually go, otherwise I'll never say goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Alright, good night.